This Todd-versation is brought to you in part by Calavo Growers, the family of fresh.
Ho, 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 everybody. Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. We're stoked that you're here hanging out with us. We love the holidays here at TLC. I know you love the holidays. We've got some holiday guests in here. I'm loving these two people. They are so important to me. They've been around my life for a long time. They brighten it up every time that I'm here. I'm stoked to have Access Organics on here talking about the fun and games that they're up to. So everybody put your hands together. Just pull over the car real quick. Put it in neutral. Clap. I think clapping's appropriate for these two. Please give it up for the founder of Access Organics, Bonnie Poux, and the Chief Ninja Officer wearing that hat, coming out big with that hat, which we're going to talk about, Ryan San Jose. Much love to you both and welcome. I'm so happy you're both here.
Thank you, Todd.
Great to be here.
Yep.
Well, you say that now, Ryan. Let's see what happens in about 20, 25 minutes. See how you feel.
Oh, yeah.
It could be it's potentially be a complete shit show, to be honest with you.
100%.
Probably not.
I mean,
Probably
no.
not. Probably not.
It probably is.
Probably not. Yeah, you're right.
Probably.
Probably is. But I'm really thrilled that you guys are here because you guys, Bonnie, you are just you are hey, you got Icon by your name, you got an asterisk by your name. This is Icon. Somebody's been around a long time. Ryan, you have too. You've done some big stuff, and I'm just thrilled to have the chance to talk with both of you. And I think it's going to be a fun yin and yang back and forth from a perspective standpoint. But like I do with all my guests before we get going, I don't read people's bios because it's incredibly campy and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when I read it. If you wouldn't mind, Bonnie, I'm going to open it up with you. Just give everybody a quick hello, who you are, your journey, your bio a little bit, just whatever the hell you want to say, go for it. Ryan, get ready because you're going to do the same thing, and I expect you to use words with at least 5 letters in them.
Yes.
Well, Todd, thank you. It's great to see you still after all these years. I got into produce in the early 1980s by accident. I drove someone's car across the country from North Carolina. She needed her car dropped off in Santa Cruz, California at Happy Valley Orchards.
Wow.
When I got there, I said, I think it's time for a move. So I took the Greyhound bus back to North Carolina and packed up everything in my Samoyed and moved to Santa Cruz. Worked for that orchard. He had a small little health food store downtown Santa Cruz. Needed somebody to run the produce department. And at that point, I was tired of secretarial, bartending, waitressing, all those things that I'll take this on. And
I love it.
From that point, it became my career. And got involved with Santa Cruz Trucking, which was the first organic distributor in that area, bringing in product from local growers and veritable vegetable, and even as far as Florida. So we started working with these small growers, and I just found my calling in working with food supply, because up to that point I thought to myself, what's my next career going to be? Because I was tired of all that, the rest of it. I said, well, it either needs to be involved with food, water, or booze, because those are the 3 things humans can't do without, pretty much.
Yeah.
For the most part. So food it was, and worked my way up into bigger distribution, and a couple of years later got the call from Greg McAllister to come to work for Ocean Organics, and wasn't too long after that I got to meet you, Mr. Linsky.
Yeah, I was down in the LA portion of that story.
Yep. And you moved up to that region, and it's always been working with farmers in my business. The side that I've worked with is to make farmers successful, pull them together, all organizational bits to bring them to the marketplace. And what I've been doing since that point.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you've been around. I mean, between the board deal and what you've done, what you're doing with Access, which we're going to get into in more detail, especially some of the cool things you guys are doing, I think is really great. Now you got, the Chief Ninja Officer down below us here with the cowboy hat on, coming in strong to the reservation. That's going to be exciting to talk about what he's going to get up to. I guarantee you that's a hurricane in the making. But Ryan, before we get going, and it's so great because I know Bonnie, you and I, connect on a totally different level because we go way back in the terms of things. But Ryan, before we get in there, to share everybody a little bit about your journey in bio and where you are today and how I roped you into hanging out with me.
Well, it's all your fault, Todd, really.
You know what? Most things are. Just ask anybody. Most things
yes,
are.
I know. And from day one, it's always been your fault. We're gonna leave it there. But yeah, I've had a real funny little journey. So I was with early in my 20s, I was with the Long Beach Police Department. And, I went to school up in Idaho, and after school, I lived up in Montana, actually right 5 minutes from the where Access headquarters is. I lived right there in Kalispell on a cattle ranch, doing ranching stuff and so on and so forth. And so when I came back home, I became a cop and I hated it. I mean, I like driving fast. I like the lights. The sirens were cool, some shiny things. It was cool. But it got to the point where it's like, I'm going to go back to school. Well, I went back to school and I needed a job during that time period. And Joe Hernandez from Melissa's World Variety Produce, family friend, gave me a job. My job was checking in semi trucks, sitting in a golf cart at Melissa's. That was my job. My closest thing to produce. And then after 6 months, I did all my credits and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. Actually, I was going to be a football coach, but I had to teach to do that.
Right.
But all of a sudden, pink slips were being handed out. There was a school or it was they were cutting teachers out, a whole hiring freeze. So I was like, well, I'm not going to sit on this golf cart for more than 6 months. So anyhow,
kind of anticlimactic after you had the sirens.
Oh, trust me. So a good friend we both know, Chris Devon, who was working at Melissa's at the time, he says, hey, you want to be the organic pack line manager? And I said, okay. He goes, you know what organic is? I go, I don't know, man, but I could figure it out. And so anyway, he puts me in a pack line. After a couple months, all of a sudden I'm the organic tomato buyer. That's what the commodity they gave me. Figure this one out there, buddy. You already did this. Yeah. Figure this out. So anyway, after a few years there, I kind of rose up the ranks and ran the organic program there after the guy in front of me left. And for about 3 years, we had a lot of fun, learned a lot. That place, I'll tell you right now, I learned so much. Melissa's World Variety has so much stuff in one box. I mean, you talk about the variety of things. I mean, lychee to the rambutan to Alaskan mangoes, you name it. These guys had it under this one roof. So I managed all the tropicals and then did all the organics and then managed the organic category itself, not just the fruit. So after 3.5 years, I moved on, had an opportunity to be a partner over at Rainbow Valley Orchards. And for almost 17 and a half years, I was over there, 2004 until present. So, and I had a great run there, did a lot of different things, grew the business, did everything I said I was going to do. I did it. And here I am today with Bonnie on a new adventure and going back to the roots, which is the family farm. And
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so great to have conversations around the family farm, and it's so great to have people that have perspective of what that means and why it's important, and to grab a hold of that heritage that, was a big part of, our upbringing. And Bonnie, I'm going to lean into this kind of thought with you a little bit. Back in the 80s, we've been on kind of the same path. We've been doing this for a while now together, few minutes we've been playing in this sector for a while, but our paths are really similar in nature. I mean, being a part of the farm, on the farm with the farmers is an unbelievable experience, especially if you can get to that intimate relationship with them. If you get to the point of really truly being a part of their family and a part of that family dynamic, it's incredibly powerful. So my first question to throw at you, Bonnie, is thinking back, as you kind of touched on in your introduction a bit, how, where you started, how that family farm, how that felt to you back, starting in the 80s. I mean, it's a legacy of business and things that you've done. So when you think about that to today and looking forward, what surprises you about the industry today?
Thanks for joining the Todd-versation. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hello, this is Jesse from Superior Fresh. Check us out at www.superiorfresh.com to learn more about how we raise our Atlantic salmon without the use of hormones, antibiotics, or pesticides. Our Heart Check certified salmon boast 2 times the omega-3s of other salmon and are fed an organic and non-GMO diet. Our fish thrive in water naturally filtered by our USDA certified organic greens, which allows us to recycle 99.9% of our water. This is salmon as it should be. Order Superior Fresh salmon direct to your home by shopping with us online. And listeners of this episode can use the discount code TLC15 to receive 15% off your order. We make it easy to get the best salmon in your homes and on your plates. We've got you covered. Superior salmon equals superior taste. Shop now and use code TLC15 for 15% off through the end of the month.
What surprises me is that the prices that, average prices that I saw in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, now we're in 2022, average prices are not that much different. There might be spikes in the market, but if you look at what the average sale price of something is, it's in the teens. And that's been, outside of maybe citrus or the row crop deal, and even melons are this low to mid teens, but all the costs have just gone skyrocketing year after year after year in labor and things like that. So that's probably something that surprises and concerns me more than anything.
I mean, that's a great perspective, and one that I don't think a lot of people probably recognize and think about, but you're absolutely right. Costs go up, infrastructure costs, people, all of it goes, and you're still paying $12 for that same box of lettuce, and that's tough. Yep, right. I mean, it goes back to something I talk about all the time is, understanding what the positive cost of food is. And, cheap has a hidden cost, whether it's healthcare, whatever it might be. But those are really, that's really valuable and well said. So when you think about that, though, I mean, obviously that surprises you, shocks you. There's no two ways about it. It's, quite frankly, it's a great perspective. It kind of shocks me a little bit to actually reflect upon. What do you think about the future, though? I mean, what makes you optimistic about this industry? When you think about, because, and I asked that question because I think about in the 80s when we used to get hung up on all the time because nobody gave a shit about organic produce. It's like click, wait on hold for 15 minutes, click, countless times. And I've said all the time, it's probably the most hung up guy in the organic produce business. My tenure's like, I got hung up more than I got answered most days. So when you think about that and you think about the future, I mean, what are you optimistic about? What excites you? What fires you up a little bit?
The family farm, knowing that we are seeing the next generations actually become involved back into the farm, even though they've gone off and maybe tried other avenues, other businesses, college, education. You're supposed to be able to graduate away from the farm, or to me, that's the most important thing. Food security is one of the most important things in any country. And having the next generations, particularly what you said, when you become part of that family farm, like with Manus Farms, I'm in my 12th and a half year with them. So it's like growing up with them and now seeing their kids being involved in it all the way down the line, I think is wickedly important to maintain that.
Well, it is, and I also think it's important to talk about. I think it's important to lead with. I think it's important to, those are things consumers need to recognize are an important part of our farming system in this country, and it's becoming a lost part of our farming system in a lot of ways. You have declining. You don't have a lot of people jumping into farming. There's more leaving than getting in a lot of ways, and I think that those stories need to be elevated. So I love that perspective. Ryan, I'm gonna throw the same kind of question over to you. You know, what surprises and shocks you a little bit today, you know, that's out there from your perspective, you know, when you started in the golf cart, you know, sitting on your ass, which is all I heard you say when you talked about the golf cart.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, coming at it from a different perspective. You know, like Bonnie said earlier, she was like, you know, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do that anymore. I'm going to take this challenge on. And, you know, I think in farming, you know, it's every day is a challenge. You know, when I worked on the cattle ranch, there was so many different challenges just trying to keep that all in together. That's, you know, farming in a different manner. But when you look at our farming today, globally, you look at pricing. We're going to go back to what Bonnie said on pricing. It's so much more expensive today, especially after the COVID situation and the administration we're in now and all the different things that's going on. Farming is a lot more expensive, yet we're in the same pricing structure we were, you know, 10 years ago. I mean, gosh, even, you know, almost 20 years ago, I remember buying oranges, you know, per carton at $26 on Valencias. To this day, you're still buying, you know, $26, $28 Valencias. That's kind of where it is. There's this ceiling that retailers have, and rightfully so. Okay, we have to try. Yes, we have to try to put money back in the ground. We have to put money back into food. We have to put money back into people. We have to do those things. And if we don't, the large corporations are going to take over. All the hedge funds, all the other different things that are driving farming in California and other states, that's all going to put a big black eye on the industry because it brings it all into one bowl. But now with us, we both are pushing 2 family farms that literally, these guys literally, they count on every box. Okay. They count on every box in order to farm again next year. Thank God for both of our farms, the Benzer family farm and the Manis family farm. These are generational farms. Okay. And those guys know what it takes to take it to the next level. So what's shocking to me is that we haven't moved forward when it comes to pricing. We haven't understood, especially with all the things that are going on right now, we still don't understand the ramifications of not putting money back into the ground. Right. I had a conversation today. You know, it was about pricing. And it was like, hey, I got your price list, but what's my price? And I get that. I understand that. But like I told him, I said, the family just needs you to be a part of the business. And we trust in you to give us the best return possible in order for us to keep going next year. So I think that resonates with every part of the business because we're in hard times right now. We talk about, there's all kinds of things we aren't talking about. Water, the fact that California is a desert. Water's not going to change here. Okay, it's not going to change. We're in a desert. So, you know, you look at all these different things and what's shocking, what is surprising. Today, man, nothing's surprising to me. You know, for 20 years now, it's like Groundhog Day, man. You know, yeah. It's just realizing the problem, working the problem, and then having a resolution at the end. That's basically what this is about.
Well, you bring up a really good point, Ryan. I come alongside what you said, and there's just only so much infrastructure that you can, you know, make better, right, to keep reducing costs, and that becomes a real big challenge. You know, 2 ways about that. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit. You know, let's get into what is Access. Bonnie, I'm with those to you. Tell me a little bit. What is Access Organics? Give me a little 411 on what you guys are all about.
Well, first off, this was my 25th year in being independent business owner with Access Organics. So pretty proud of that.
No
Uh,
shit. Congratulations.
Thank you. Gone through some highs and lows, but it's always, again, been about the farmer and
Yeah.
bringing them up to better than conventional standards. I remember that at Santa Cruz Trucking, seeing some of the guys bringing in organic product, going, this is how I'm going to pack it. I'm like, no, you're not. If you want to get a good return, it's got to be this way. It's got to be
Right.
better than conventional. You know, going back to what you said, you know, nobody wanted to pick up the phone and tell ALAR. You know, everybody wanted organic then, and the industry wasn't prepared for it in terms of production. But my
Murray was. Murray was at West Valley. He had everything he wanted when he wanted it.
Maybe, you know, the Apple guys, what did it go from $30 a box to $200 a box? Or something?
It was a box. Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's always been my motto is, hey, let's be better than conventional. Let's show that organic is something that can be built on for the future, and get into those chain stores and prove to them that we can do it. So that's continued from growers. I don't rep many growers in Montana. I have, but California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Texas, Florida, a brokered product from all over the country. So our terminology is PACA licensed grower sales agent.
Right. Yeah.
We do broker some things, but we're PACA licensed to handle interstate transport for farmers, whether they're conventional or organic. I've chosen the organic path.
How much, thinking about your upbringing and what you did, and, reflecting back on that Greyhound bus ride going, hey, I'm out of here on the way back. Right. I mean, talk about something, how your values come into it, because, I think one of the things that people that are in our space for a long period of time, morals and values play very much into the food narrative. They certainly do for me. It's certainly something I take away from. I certainly go back and reflect upon, the mission back in the day that we had, which was, very simply put, is providing, good food, good food for more people, right? Type of an attitude, like, keep this thing going. So talk to me a little bit about how your values cross into access. Because I think it's important when you think about a brand and where it comes from is about its values.
Thank you, Todd. That's important to me. That's really one of the most important things that keeps me going during difficult times. Produce is a difficult business.
No, that can be a bitch, no doubt.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pressure. So I lean on quality, service, and integrity. Those have been my mottos forever. And I feel like anybody that we bring into our fold needs to know that. We have to build trust between the growers, because we're handling millions of dollars for these guys. And we have to have a great trust involved in that. And a trust with the customers that we're going to do what we say we're going to do. If we screw up, I'll admit it. We figure out how to fix it, and move forward and figure out how not to do it again. So everyone that I bring in as an employee has to have those same kind of moral standards, that if we have to cheat about something, then we can't be in the business. Or if I have to deal with cheaters, I don't want to be in that business. I want everything up and up. We want win-win relationships, and we want to treat everybody that we deal with on a daily basis, whether it's our important grower or important customer, truck drivers, our shed personnel, the guys that are sweeping the floors in the coolers, the people that are on the packing lines, people that are getting up 4 o'clock every morning, arriving to the packing trailer at 6 in the morning and working till 4, 5, 6
Done.
p.m. Then they get up and do it all over again every day. So I feel it's super important to meld all of those high moral standards and treat everybody with respect.
I love it. Yeah, it's so important. And you said something too that something I learned early on, especially after going through the whole ALAR thing and all the bullshit that was happening after that, because there was an oversupply of organic produce real quick when the capitalists got involved. Mm-hmm. But integrity is the only thing a person truly owns. right? And once you screw that up, it's, you know, it's really hard. It's just, how do you come back from that? It's always going to be a shadow that's going to follow you no matter what steps you take, right? So I think it's so important that you drive integrity in the business. It's so great to hear how important that is to you in all steps, whether it's a mistake made, how do we fix it? Because that's going to happen. That's life. We're human. It's, you know, it's just the way it works. So I think it's just really, really powerful when you start thinking about that. I'm inspired by what you said. And I'm proud of you for throwing that out there like that and saying with such conviction, because I think it's really important that people understand when they're dealing with companies, who they are from their heart. You know, it's not about little snippets of information, you know, this. You really live and believe it. And I think that's a really powerful statement, which is why you've had the successes you had, and why, you know, the family farms matter to your heart, but why family farms, why you matter to family farms. And I think that's incredibly important. All right, Ryan San Jose, Chief Ninja Officer. Oh man, here we go, brother. Now you're here. You're at Access. You got a holster on. Now you got bullets in the holster. You got things going on. Knowing you like I do, I imagine you have some grandiose plans, some cockamamie shit that Bonnie's going, what? If I was guessing, just the cockamamie part I threw in there just because I'm ad-libbing. So tell me a little bit about what's new. Tell me what's new and exciting. What's the sales ninja going to be bringing to the table? What do you got going on? Talk about Bensler. Tommy's a legend. He's just epic. Get into it. Here you go. Go, brother.
Yeah, go. You know, it's funny. You know, early in my career, people would say, that can't be done. And I'd say, bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit.
We can get that done. And one time, you know, I'm telling you, over and over again, you know, overcoming those walls has been a big part of my career. You know, creating new things, creating synergy around these new things, creating a really good environment that produces quality. It breeds really good people and good, just a good good synergy. I mean, you talked about, you know, Thomas Benzer, and you know, that guy is a wildcat, man. And his old man who just passed a couple years ago, I tell you, I'd make my trek up north, and one of the things that I couldn't go without was good 15 minutes with Tom Bensler Sr. The guy was just amazing. And I keep talking about people, man. You know, people make everything. You know, that ranch, okay, the Bensler family farm, they house their own people. The people that work that ranch, the people that do everything. Tom and Thomas Benzer built these people homes. Okay, they live on the ranch. They work the ranch. That's why everything that comes out of there has just been absolutely amazing. The quality, the varieties, and we're growing things right now. But you're talking about a family that is entrenched in the community. You know, Tom Sr. and his mother, Bertha, who started this thing in 1952. You know, they were so entrenched in their church. And I mean, gosh, they helped pour the dang asphalt in the church 2 years ago out there with the hot water, you know, just all these things. What that family and what they're trying to do in the community of Fresno is epic. And I fell in love with that, the family awareness and that community that they have. So every time I go up there and every time we are doing different things, we're trying to figure out how does little Tommy, you know, the third, he's 13. So what's this going to look like for him in 10 years when he's 18, like little Tom or Tom Jr. Got into this thing. You know, all these different things. We're looking at generations here, and it's really fun to see, and it's really fun to do. But yeah, we've come out with some new stuff. We've come out with some new packaging. We started with some packaging last year that was earth-friendly cardboard tote for grapes. But we're going to vertically position ourselves in the marketplace in citrus. All grapes are coming out this year. 300 acres of citrus will be going in. A few different varieties that certain customers asked for us to put in. So we have a 10 to 15 year goal that we're going to reach, and where we want to be at that time frame is going to be pretty cool. I mean, in reality, in 5 years, we're going to be producing a lot of really cool fruit, outside of what we already do now. Your navels, your lemons, your grapefruit, your mandarins. We got a new mandarin bag coming out this year, something that's different. Everybody wants to be in that blue and red bag. Everybody is like on the shirt tails of one brand name, and they all want to be that guy. Well, you know what? We don't want to be that guy. Okay. You look at Mr. T, our choice label. Mr. T never wanted to be, Thomas. He never wanted to be the fancy guy. So he's like, put me on the choice stuff. Little scarred, little ugly, little disfigured.
I love it. I love it.
So, we put T on there, and we put the family crest on the fancy stuff, and we're putting together a really nice pack, quality stuff that I've been selling for years. And we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, Todd. Okay. But what we want to do is keep a family name that's been in households, for years. Bensler Family Farms has been around since 1952. So here goes the story. Bertha Bensler, she wanted to be a natural farmer. She wanted to farm naturally. And her husband was the gas station attendant. He owned a couple gas stations. Well, she went out in 1952 and told him, hey, look, we're going to buy these, this 80 acres, the first, the homestead, right? And you're going to sell those gas stations, and you're going to come and we're going to go farm. And he was like, I just want to pump gas. So anyway, he goes in and they do that. And they grow that year after year. They grew the farm, and then all of a sudden, Tom Bensler, after he got out of the U.S. Marine Corps, he came back to the farm and started working and doing his thing, and everything started to progress. The Bensler family farm, when the registrations came out, they were 003. They held
for the organic registration.
For the organic registration, 003.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. What did number one was?
It starts with a P.
Starts with oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a guess. I'll guess that. All right, I'll let people guess at home. Guess at home.
Yeah.
Submit your answers. Ryan's going to give you $25 Amazon gift card. I love it, but Bensler's, like you point, it's an iconic brand. Tommy's he's a character and a half. If you get the opportunity to spend some time and talk about farming with him, it's it's like an Encyclopedia Britannica right there. It's pretty cool. But that's exciting that you're reinvigorating. And obviously we got the new Access logo behind me up on the screen. That's exciting to roll out. I'm honored to get that out of the ethos for you guys. And I think it's exciting what you're going to do. The energy, let's face it, Bonnie, Ryan doesn't sit still very well. So shit's going to keep coming. It's going to be nonstop. But I'll tell you something I really enjoyed when you were talking, Ryan, is talking about this 10 to 15 year plan, this longevity plan about where we're going to take our family farms. And I think that's really something important. And as somebody on the other end of this, thinking about their retail business or their wholesale business or whatever foods or whatever sector you're in, those are the kind of conversations you want to have with your people that you're working with. You want to know what the future is going to like. You want to know where to your point earlier, food security, Bonnie, right? I mean, food security is such an amazing topic that nobody talks enough about. And, those things are really, really powerful. I love it. That's well said. It's going to be exciting to watch you guys. It's going to be kind of like 4th of July most days, I'm imagining. So I'm guessing.
Well, that's the thing, Todd. No, that's the thing. I mean, let's be exciting. Let's do dynamic things. But that's the other thing is when we do dynamic things, but it's like making sure the stuff that we're attached to, if it's broccoli, if it's celery, if it's all the leafy greens that we're doing in El Centro, or if it's the round small orange things that we're putting in bags or sending out bulk, quality and dynamic people helping other people grow. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I mean, I get excited about this stuff. I mean, that's why I'm still in this dang crazy business called produce. And
I thought it's because of the hat. I thought you just stayed in produce because you got the hat.
No, man. I've been wearing a cowboy hat since I was 6. You know, and I got the pictures to prove it, man. Come on.
Where do you put your cowboy hat at night? All right, never mind. We'll move on.
We'll
I'm
go
moving on
back.
to my next question. I'm moving on to my next question. Well, I want to come back around to this because you guys do something, and you've been doing something for a while that I think is really, really cool. And you talk about your values, you talk about what's important to you. You've been doing a lot of work with the Navajo agriculture products industry, and which is really, really cool. You've got the Navajo Pride brand. You got this going on. If you wouldn't mind, just give everybody. I'm going to give you a two-part question because I think it's going to probably roll into with your answer. A, tell me about Navajo Pride produce and why it's so important to access. But I'd also like for you to touch a little bit about how you've impacted the Navajo community with your efforts, because I just think this is super cool.
Okay, I think that's a great question because this is a great source of pride for us to be handling products from Navajo. Actually, Ryan happened to be up here visiting us the first year that we took the call about them looking for someone to help market their new fresh produce program. They have huge operation that would just blow your mind to see the amount of acreage and water sources that they have there. It's in Farmington, New Mexico, and you can look it up at Navajo Pride or Navajo Pride Organic to do some research. They grow thousands of acres of grain crops, beans, wheat, all these dry goods, but they brought in an organic produce program about 5 years ago with watermelons and hard squash. First year didn't go as well as they wanted to with their marketing. So they asked their box company, hey, do you know anybody that can market organic produce for us? And he reached out to me, gave them our contacts. So I started selling 4 years ago their organic watermelon and mini watermelon program with the squash. And it's quite a corporate venture. It's different than any of the other deals that we've worked with in the past because it's more of a corporate structure. And then you have tribal council that you deal with, and then the depth that it goes through for all of the operations. So the little organic melon program can be a thorn in the side for some in the organization, but also a great sense of pride for others in the organization and the production side. And talk about attention to detail, making the changes that I suggested in the pack, working with them with packaging and PLUs and crop plans, add more here, take less here, but still tell me what your costs are to do this so that we can push hard for that price. First year it was difficult because we had to bring everything into Los Angeles for consolidation and shipping out in pallet quantities. And the goal was to try to ship everything directly from the operation in Farmington as possible. But that added its own challenges because you had to move truckload volume from a place that distant from market areas. We were really fortunate that Whole Foods took this deal very seriously for a number of reasons. And we've got some other customers that we've been able to build the program with over time. And we've been loading everything directly from Farmington for the last 3 years and making it successful, saving them, $4 to $6 to $8 a box that would have come off the sale price had we had to go into, California as a consolidation point. So
I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's some of the best watermelon anybody's ever tasted, but their challenges are they're at high elevation desert farming, north of Albuquerque, right on the Colorado border, about an hour south of Durango.
Okay.
So anything can happen there with hail, winds, crop failure, but the attention to detail and their commitment to put out a superior quality product is among the best that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of work. I mean, they're feeding a lot of people with what they're doing. I mean, obviously, it's a big part of them taking care of their own community and to drive, revenue back towards their, towards their, to their tribe and what they're doing to their community. I mean, it's really powerful. It's really powerful to see. I mean, it's got to be one. I would imagine in the course of, evolution and time, it's got to be one of the cooler things you've been a part of, if I was guessing.
It is, Todd, because when I was in Santa Cruz in the 80s, I was a part of food drives that we were taking the fresh food from Santa Cruz County and donations and taking it to the Four Corners area of this very same area that I'm involved in now, and donating the food. And when I saw the lack of food, number one, healthy food and fresh food was really shocking to me. So I think that was another reason why I really stayed in the food industry, was because I know that, there's so much waste and so many people who need the food that it's just mind-boggling. But to come back full circle and be working with an operation that's, 70,000 acres of production, and really doing a lot for their communities and surrounding areas, especially during COVID, when everything got shut down there. The National Guard showed up to distribute the dry goods that NAPI produces. So they had weekly shipments from NAPI is Navajo Agricultural Products Industry, so that's short for that. So they were a huge part of survival for the communities there, because COVID raged through there and killed a lot of elders, a lot of people, and their community lifestyle is such that multiple generations of families live in the same household.
Right.
From babies to aunties to uncles to parents to grandparents. So that was really devastating, COVID. I think a lot of people don't realize how bad it was on the reservations.
Interesting. No, I did not. I mean, obviously, that thing was a monster all in itself and continues to be one. It's incredibly unfortunate how we handled it in a lot of ways as well. But that's another subject for another time, not getting deplatformed this time.
Yeah, fortunately, NAPI was in a position to have good amount of food ready to distribute out
for sure.
The nation, hundreds of miles in every direction, which they just didn't sell on the market, but they provided it to their people. So
that's what it's about, right? We're all a global community. We got to look out for each other. We got to uplift each other. We got to do more of that. Believe me. I want to stay on that a little bit, kind of down this trail of what you've done with them. I'll throw this question out to both of you, and Bonnie, I'll throw it to you first. But, one of the things you talk about is farming is not only a way of life, but it's linked to countless industries along the way. And I love what you say when you say we're all connected in farming some way. Can you share with me, what that means to you?
Thanks for joining the Todd-versation. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hello, this is Jesse from Superior Fresh. Check us out at www.superiorfresh.com to learn more about how we raise our Atlantic salmon without the use of hormones, antibiotics, or pesticides. Our Heart Check certified salmon boast 2 times the omega-3s of other salmon and are fed an organic and non-GMO diet. Our fish thrive in water naturally filtered by our USDA certified organic greens, which allows us to recycle 99.9% of our water. This is salmon as it should be. Order Superior Fresh salmon direct to your home by shopping with us online. And listeners of this episode can use the discount code TLC15 to receive 15% off your order. We make it easy to get the best salmon in your homes and on your plates. We've got you covered. Superior salmon equals superior taste. Shop now and use code TLC15 for 15% off through the end of the month.
That's a long one. I keep thinking, all right, I could write all this down, but I mean, if we think about seed production, we think about box companies that have to provide packaging materials. We think about the harvesters, the the fuel vendors, the tractor suppliers, the amendments to the soil, the people that are packing, the packing equipment, the trailers, the organic certification, the food safety organizations, the sales agents, the
Right.
cooling facilities, the ice companies, the transportation companies that take it from the field to the packing shed, the transportation companies that take it from the packing shed to the warehouses, the warehouse workers, the trucks that take it from the warehouse to the retailers, the people that work on the retail end. I mean, the list goes on as to who actually gets touched by food production.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah. You think about one
vendors.
box. Yeah. One box can touch a lot of hands.
Yeah.
You know, by the time you think about from start to finish through the whole process. Yeah. It's amazing. Brian, back to you, kind of the same thing. I mean, we're all connected some way. What's that mean to you?
Yeah, you know, I always, gosh, man, there's so many things. I'm ready to jump on so many aspects of what that thinks of me, but
Don't jump on anything. Nobody wants to see that.
Nobody. Yeah, you know, I always go back to consumption. Okay. It's one of those things I always tell people, you know, I'm gonna make sure what we sell you is the same thing I'm gonna bring home myself. We want to make sure that the food tastes exactly the way you want it to taste. And in order to do that, there's so many of these things that you're talking about. What Bonnie just mentioned is the pre-harvest handling, the post-harvest handling. All those things take labor. And on the organic side, it takes a lot more labor. Okay, because fertilizer, for instance. Okay, yeah, we have this thing going on between Russia and Ukraine, and we're talking about urea, and we're talking about these things that are, you know, fertilizer based items that a lot of people use out of those countries to grow product. I mean, we don't, because we're certified organic, but it's still, that's a piece of it. So when we look at this, we look at, okay, what does it take to get organic products to the shelf? Well, for us, we can't just use a liquid fertilizer like the conventional guys can, especially in the with lemon groves, and some of these things are different, but lemon groves, we have to use chicken pellets for the nitrogen levels. You know, we need a high nitrogen level to produce better products. The only way you're going to do that is either by hand, or if you have the money to buy a spreader to go and put, you know, 50 pounds per or bag per tree all the way through. And if you got, you know, 500 acres, it's a lot of time and effort. That's people. All right. That's equals labor equals cost. So you look at all these things just to get the fruit to stick on the tree, and a year later that you can go out and sell it. There's so many steps to make that happen. So when I talk about consumption, in order to get that piece of fruit that to eat the way you're going to remember it and want to bring yourself back to the store and buy it again, you have to go through all these steps that Bonnie was mentioning, that I'm kind of mentioning, you know, and that goes right into water. That goes right. I mean, there's so many aspects to produce a good eating product. It's staggering. I mean, it's staggering. We can sit here for an hour and just talk about, you know, the cost. We can talk about the equipment and talk about the people and all those type of things. It's when I first got into this, Todd, it was mind-boggling on what the process of producing good products, you know, all the different processes. I mean, for God's sakes, apples. I mean, apples could be a year old by the time you eat them because of controlled atmosphere rooms. I mean, all these different things. You know, I remember telling my wife, when we first met, I was telling her about these apple rooms and what they do. And for their average person, they just go, they're looking at you like, can you do them? And why would you do that? These are
Right.
things that we figured out in produce, to go along with all the list of things that Bonnie put out there. There's so much stuff. There's so many things. It takes people, it takes money, it takes time, and it's before and after the product is produced. But
Right.
again, back to consumption. Consumption is huge, because in order to do all that stuff, all the things that we're talking about on the farming aspect, in order to do that stuff and get good product to consume, it takes money. And if we keep shortchanging the farmer, the big farmers, the small farmers, whoever it may be, if we keep shortchanging those guys, it's going to be hard to feed people and feed people good product good product that we all want to enjoy, and bring home and spend good money on. So there's so many things that go on there. It's crazy.
Well, you make a good point. I mean, look, consumption is about everything, right? Trying to increase consumption helps everybody. It's not so much about whose ever apple it is, about let's get people to eat more apples. That's what wins the day. You want to reduce food waste. Let's work to drive consumption, especially when you have a category like fruits and vegetables, because there's really no downside to increasing consumption of fruit and vegetables in the American diet. I'm not quite sure if anybody's got a study that says otherwise. I would love to read it. I don't think it exists. Right. So. I mean, maybe if you ate, 100 kiwis a day, that might hurt you. But at the end of the day, bottom line, fruits and vegetable consumption is going to make a big difference in our planet and our climate and a lot of things, especially our health, especially when you take a look at the past 2 years and really identifying some of the health issues that this country really has and how they became toward the forefront, and stuff. Right. I got to go back because you talked a little about water. And I know from your perspective, because you're out dealing with these growers in California, you're seeing it firsthand in multiple districts that water crisscrosses around. And for those that don't know, water in the state of California is literally like the wild, wild west. It is so complicated. It's so complicated. I can't even come up with anything smart ass to say. It's just completely complicated. So talk to me a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, just the water situation here in California, just from your perspective. How real is it? And is there anything that people maybe do or don't understand that you kind of throw at it, just to kind of frame it up?
So, I'm a little bit different of the type of national sales manager. I get my boots dirty. I get out and I talk to growers. I have a lot of grower friends in a lot of different areas of California, Central Valley, the Ventura, Central Valley. And for 2 years now, I'm going to say for 2 years, the hot topic has been water. The lack of rain in California, our water table. A lot of the farmers up in the Central Valley, they always talk about, well, if we don't get rain down here, that's okay, as long as the ice box
rains up here,
up in the Sierras. As long as the Sierras get rain, we're going to be okay, because we get allotted amounts throughout the year. But with the structure, the amount of rain we've had over the last 3 years, it's really depleted the water table. And by depleting the water table, you get guys that they drill a well 150 feet, right? Well, some of these wells are 150 feet deep and they're sucking up rocks. There's no water anymore.
Right.
A lot of times these guys are getting water around 50 to 75 feet. Not really worrying about that 150 foot well. With the lack of rain and okay amount of water up in the Sierras,
right?
Guys are there's a lot of guys hurting. There's a lot of guys that have turned the water off. They can't pay the municipalities.
Thank you. You're welcome. I'm here for you. I'm your crutch.
Bless me. They can't pay it. It's just too much money. There's guys that have a 10-acre plot. They're getting a load of acre. And how does that affect? You're getting a load of acres on navel oranges, right? Well, with the lack of water, you're doing two things. One, your bloom in April and May, March, April, May, your bloom doesn't stick. Okay. With the heat we've had over the summer, you're going to get, the bloom that turns into the actual bud itself.
Right.
That just falls off because the tree is dehydrated.
Stressed out.
It's just stressed out. and the tree's going to save itself before it saves that little fruit on the tree. So what's happening is guys are turning off water or just putting just enough on to keep the tree alive. And, yields are suffering. Guys that do have ample amounts of water or ample amounts of dollars to buy the water, they've been able to sustain. Luckily for, the Benzer farm, and I'm going to say lucky, because when Bertha went out and bought this piece of property, she didn't know how much water she had. 3 generations later, they're still pumping water. Yeah, we're still pumping water, but that area they're in, it has a great water table and it holds well, and so on and so forth. So how it affects the industry, you don't see the effects for a good 6 months, because what's happening in March, April, May, when that bloom hits, I'm saying for citrus in general. And then you got to go through that hot summer, because it's hot as hell up where you're at. I mean, Bakersfield, I don't know who would want to live there, but it gets hot.
Neither.
It gets hot. Yeah. And you have to, the crops have to weather that storm of heat.
Sure.
And by the time the crop sets in July and they get through the summer, you don't know what you're going to have, especially if you lack water. So water plays a huge part in on the citrus side, but on the even down in the El Centro,
it's all ag's affected by it. Yeah, it's a really, really big problem. It's a big problem, and it's the reason I asked the question, because you've got this perspective, because you're dealing, your boots are dirty in the field, going, hey, this is really real, and you're hearing it back from your farmers. Like, you've got 500,000 acres have been taken out of California because there's no water. That's just now. We're just starting that. Where's that going to go?
Yeah, but it's going to the cities. It's going to the cities, right?
Yeah.
So, whatever politics are involved in that, sorry to jump in, but that's what's happening in the Imperial Valley, right? The cities have been trying to take this farmers' water for years, and they're just trying to figure out what the shell game is next year. That, all right, we're going to have to cut the flow of the Colorado River before it gets down to Arizona and into the Imperial Valley of California. So if it's the use it or lose it situation, I'm not the expert, but the warning signs are there, because the cities are still getting their water. And you're talking 500,000 acres of product that's coming out of production because they don't have the water.
Yeah, that's a real problem. But it's but it's an infrastructure problem too, right? We've not done a really good job of helping ourselves catch water. Because if you look at the math, and you take, you can have the climate equation, and you can have that part of the conversation. But there's billions of dollars sitting there right now that are bonded money that the taxpayers approve. We got to go buy a shovel at Home Depot, kids. It's time, right? We got to get started with some of this, because we do get a lot of rainfall. We get a lot of snowpack, but we don't capture it, right? It's so much of it has gone back to the ocean, which is part of the equation too. But we've got to be smarter about that, because going back to what you said earlier, Bonnie, food insecurity is a topic that I don't think a lot of people put any energy in, but a country that's food insecure is not a safe place to be, right? There's a lot that can happen with that. I want to, Bonnie, kind of come back to something that I think that you brought up, being your 25th year in business, and you're employing people. You are the epitome of what the American economy is about, right? Small business is how this country functions, right? And you're not a small business any longer. You've grown past that point. No two ways about it. But nonetheless, as a business owner, I want to talk a little bit about this current economy, because it's got to be something that you sit around and think about. It's got to be something that you look at. It's got to be something your growers are thinking about, right? What it is, because we know the data is supporting that. While sales are up, costs are, the price for product is down. Goes back to what Ryan, we talked about earlier on in the broadcast. We're paying the same thing today as you were 20 years ago. So talk to me a little bit as an independent business owner, how you're viewing the economy, and maybe your thought process around it.
Again, I think food is one of the key items that we have to focus on. I'm a behind the scenes kind of gal. I we work our numbers. We try to take care of our employees. We just hired 4 new people in the last, say, 3 months, and brought Ryan on board. I think
That's baggage.
that's
It's like a baggage. That's like a sympathy hire.
he's my extrovert to my introvert.
That checks some kind of box you needed to check.
he needs a village to support his abilities.
Yes.
So
Or the village, or village people maybe goes with a hat.
What did you say, Ryan? Wait, let me straighten this out. Okay, we got it. I think the organic produce movement, as you've seen in all these years, continues to grow. Organic food in general, I feel like we're in a good position in this economy to a certain degree, but when people are paying, $100 a box for iceberg lettuce or $80 a box for romaine and what have you, that's going to translate back to people not buying it on the shelf.
Right.
So my main concern is if the prices are astronomical. They're so far out of control now because of the lack of supply that's going to impact the consumer to not be putting their money into fresh food dollars. So economically, that's a concern. Yeah. We are in a good position because we have good quality growers. We do a good job representing them, putting it out there, even though we're seasonal production for the most part. That's good and bad because we don't get a piece of that $100 market. By the time we get started with the veg deal in December, where's it going to be? Are we going to get punished because the market's been so high for this last couple months? Or are we
usually what happens?
It's usually what happens. It's what goes up must come down and vice versa. But having production, say with Manus Farms for a 6-month window, we have to make the most of it that we can. In this economy, that means providing great quality, providing great service, consistency, information flow in advance so people can plan accordingly. Really nurture our win-win relationships with people that understand it does cost more to do what we're doing. So yeah, we've been able to do that, fortunately. I'm thankful.
I like it. Yeah, well, look, it's a big lift right now. It really is. And the economy is going to have effect. People are trading down. Retailers are forcing trade down. Retailers are making decisions for consumers about trading down and what that means. And while I understand it, and I'm not at all naive or about people's economic situation in this country across all spectrums of individuals, it's a real challenge. And when it comes to food, it's one of the things that really concerns me is when we start to make food cheap, right? Because that, again, I go back to what I said earlier, it has a hidden cost. And, we need to be elevating the conversation around food. So when I think about this economy and the much light that you just presented, these conversations around the win-win and what's it about and how do we increase consumption, back to your point, Ryan, because these are the things that we need to be doing, because increasing fruit and vegetable consumption is going to help us economically in another way. If it cuts down healthcare costs, that seems like a real win. Yeah. Right. It comes, some of these other things. So I think it's super important. So I appreciate your perspective on that. So let's wrap up a little bit. Let's kind of wind down and think. I want to know what's next. Who's taking this question? I'm Brian. She's going to go off the rails by asking what's next. Go to Bonnie first. I got to take a breath. So what's new? What's next for Access coming up in 2023 besides the logos, the packaging? Like what? What's exciting? What's a tidbit? You going to drop something good?
I might have to send that on to Ryan. I'm about maintaining good level of service, supporting this brand new program of citrus. Who knows what it can lead to? I'm not a tree fruit expert. I know veg, I know melons. We're gonna have more partnerships with more growers, to solidify our brand, to focus more on bringing in other growers possibly under our brand, maybe trying to integrate that so that it's more uniform on a year-round basis, so that it's more recognizable. Just continue to grow grow whatever we can. We just want to answer the call of our customers for what they want us to
I love
do.
it. Grow with those values, girl. It got
Yeah.
you here. Don't stop doing that. Right? Don't stop
Yeah.
doing that. All right, Ryan, what do you got? What are you throwing me? Something good? Some tidbit?
Well, I'm not throwing anything out there. I want to be kind of like, the Army
stealth?
Rangers. Yeah,
You're gonna be
Army
stealth?
Rangers or the SEAL teams that jump from the sky, come in real quiet, and then bam, we got you something new. And
I love it.
I don't want to let any.
That's actually a great answer.
Yeah.
It is. It's
I
a
don't
great
wanna-
answer.
Yeah, but we do have some things brewing, sooner than you think. We'll be launching some stuff, and right now, in all intents and purposes, we're trying to get the Family Farm organic citrus program up and going. Most people that have bought from me in years past, this is the same exact delicious fruit they've had. From the same exact place, the same exact family. And for me, I just want them all to know the quality's there, the flavor's there, the customer service is there. We just need people to jump on board and get on this train, and let's go, baby. Let's
I
go.
love it. That's good. That's a good way to end. That's a good positive note. Let's go. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of both of you. You've done some big things. It's fun. It's been fun to hang out. I appreciate both of you. I appreciate, the value you bring to my day and my life, and what you've meant to me, which I know that there's a lot of people out there with that same sentiment. Brian, probably not as many as Bonnie, but whatever, you'll get there someday. But nonetheless, I think it's just super important that these conversations happen. I think it's just super important to be able to highlight your values, Bonnie, and what you're about and why it matters, and what matters to you, Ryan, what you think about and what goes into your heart when you think about what your growers are about, what you're bringing back from those growers, because you really truly are their voice. Growers are amazing people. They have big opinions. They have big ideas. They take a risk every single day, but a lot of times they don't have a voice. And so it's encouraging for me to hear your voice out there, and how much these folks mean to you, and how much you've been touched by them. It resonates in your words. And I think that's a powerful thing. And I think that's a really good thing for a brand to have, that emotional connection all the way through the process. You can make a brand real pretty with lots of colors and bells and whistles, spend a fortune to get in front of people. But boy, if it doesn't have tentacles, it's just a fancy logo, man, in a lot of ways. And I think it's important what you guys are doing. So I commend both of you. And I appreciate you hanging out with me, by the way.
Yeah,
Todd,
appreciate it.
That's amazing. Thanks for that synopsis. That pulls it all together. We appreciate
You're welcome. You're welcome. Merry Christmas, by the way. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho. And you know what, Todd? You owe me a cocktail.
I'm okay. All right. That was really tough for me to say okay to. Is there anything else I owe you? You want to get on the table now? Yeah,
No.
I owe you a cocktail. You come by. I owe you one. I owe you one. I blew you off last week, but
Yes, you did.
I had no choice. But I had
I'm
to.
gonna
But yes,
buy.
I owe you a cocktail. I owe you a cocktail. Oh,
I won't be there, but
you
I'll
should
buy.
think about that, Bonnie. Yeah, well, I'm not going to say no to that, but you should just think about what you just said. You can reflect. You know what? I'm gonna give you 24 hours to reflect and change your mind on that decision. I will, but it's not a big deal. But anyways, I appreciate you guys being here. Keep it going. Come back and join me. Let me know what's going on. Let's give people an update. This platform's here at your disposal. Please use it. Again, really, really proud of you guys, and thanks for hanging with me.
No, thank you.
Yeah, everybody, go inspire somebody. I talk about it all the time. These guys are doing a big lift out there in the world. You heard some really good insight about what's going on. It's important that we embrace these brands that are representing family farm. We need to push this ball down the field. We need to protect ourselves and make sure we're food secure, not food insecure. And family farms is a great way to start with that. Thanks for listening. Check us out on social media, TLC Todd-versations. Like I say, we're there. Why? Because I hang out with the Kardashians on social media. That's what I like to do. Anyways, I appreciate you all. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Love each other. Go inspire people. Be nice. Santa Claus will come see you. Drop something good down the chimney, not a lump of coal. Some of you may get some coal. Some of you deserve coal, but nonetheless, I appreciate you all for listening, being here. Take care. We'll see you soon.